Introducing the brand new 2008 Mini Cooper S to the channel here. What's up everybody, Super Dorks fan here for weekly update number 2 in the Mini on this Friday. It's a very rainy day, so I apologize for the rain noise. But yeah, so what's new with the Mini? Well, there's nothing really new, but I'm, been owning the car for over a week and a half now. Have some more impressions on it that I want to update you on, week 2 of Mini ownership and what it's like. And the first thing is Pittsburgh, which is where I live here, there's lots of potholes, and this car hates potholes. I mean, obviously it's front wheel drive, but because this car has such a stiff chassis, which is good for handling, but here's a pothole, and it's just anyway. So stiff chassis, and the way the spring rate and everything is set up, and it being front wheel drive as well, this car freaks out whenever it hits a pothole. And what I mean is basically if you hit a pothole, the wheel immediately just darts over into that pothole, and it totally upsets the whole car whenever you hit a pothole. I mean, it's kind of funny. So in the BRZ and other cars, you just kind of glide over them. For some reason, this car just crashes over potholes, which is slightly undesirable, but again, not the end of the world. Another thing that I've noticed is this is a common problem with BMWs and Minis in general, and that is that the brakes that they use dust very quickly. When I mean dust, I mean they get dirty really fast. So the wheels on this car, the front wheels only, the rear wheels are fine, but the front wheels, they get dirty so quickly. Driving the car on a few clear days, you're driving around and they need cleaned within a few days. I was kind of spoiled with the BRZ because that car had black and gray colored wheels for the most part, so you can get away with having dirty wheels most of the time, and those brakes don't dust as much either. This car, they do dust. Another thing is road noise, which, as you can tell, this is a little bit of a rougher road here. Road noise picks up considerably on stuff like this, and yeah, like I said, there's the squeaks and rattles, with this armrest. If you watch the in-depth tour that I uploaded yesterday, you'll see every single inch of this car, and you'll see all the squeaks and rattles and everything about this car. But I do really love it still. It's really nice to have that low-end torque again. Like I had my Legacy GT, I didn't have in the BRZ, and now I have it again. So I'm happy to be in a turbocharged car. So the last observation is, do I miss the BRZ? And yes, of course I miss the BRZ, but not as much as I thought I was going to miss the BRZ, which kind of has me shocked. I mean, I love the BRZ. I'm not, going back on that at all, but this car is it's a lot of fun. I mean, this is what I try and convey in my reviews, is that there's lots and lots of cars you can have fun in. It's not like the BRZ is the only car for anyone, like everyone should own a BRZ. It's not like that at all. There's different cars for different types of people, and this is fun in its own unique way. And yes, I don't have as much confidence going into a corner like I did in the BRZ. This car definitely has a little more body roll to it and things like that, and I just don't, especially with the front wheel drive and everything, I don't know, this car just doesn't have quite the same balance the BRZ did. Again, it's the low seating position, low engine of the BRZ, all that stuff. This car, I mean, it still has a very perky kind of attitude, and it's very eager to go into corners. It loves corners, but it's not as good as the BRZ in corners. So, if I'm taking an off-ramp at a slightly higher rate of speed than normal, I could do that effortlessly in the BRZ. This car takes a little bit more of thought, and that's obviously part of that is because I'm still learning the limits of this car, and it's kind of tricky with front-wheel drive to learn the limits. With the BRZ, it would just start sliding a little bit, and the tires would give you lots of warning as to when you're losing grip. This car doesn't really give you too much of a warning. I haven't really gotten this thing too upset yet, but I keep trying to push it and see where my limits are, in safe circumstances, of course, and still haven't really found the limits of this car. So I mean, it's a very, very good handling car in that regard, but it's still something I'm learning. I'm just gonna have to get used to driving front-wheel drive, because I've never owned a front-wheel drive car before. Owned the Legacy, which was all-wheel drive. The Impreza I had before that was all-wheel drive. BRZ, of course, rear-wheel drive. So my first front-wheel drive car, and so just adapting my driving style to that. I miss the tail-happy antics. On a rainy day like this, I'd be sideways all over the place in the BRZ and just grinning from ear to ear. This car is just front wheel spin, and you get that sensation, like I mentioned in my Ford Focus ST review, with the torque steer and things like that, where it just goes nuts, and you really got to keep your hands on the wheel because the wheel's fighting with you, because all the power is going through those front wheels, and that's dramatic in its own right. I think I prefer the rear-wheel drive antics of the BRZ more, but this is also fun in its own way. But yeah, so that's it for all of my updates with the Mini here, so I'll send it back to me at the news desk for this week's news. Right, so for this week's news, the first thing is Jaguar is doing some more awesome stuff, and so what they're doing now is they're going to build more E-Types. So this is obviously the classic car from the 60s, the Jaguar E-Type that's been called one of the most beautiful cars of all time. Jaguar is, they were going to do some lightweight E-Types back in the 60s. They built 12 of them, but they allocated 18. There was extra chassis numbers they never used. And Jaguar is going to set out and get some of the best coach builders and stuff in the business to make the last 6 of these lightweight E-Types. And no word as to how much they're going to cost, but they're going to be identical to the original ones from the 60s. And that is just all kinds of wonderful awesomeness. I'm not sure how much they're going to charge for them, but they could probably charge $5 million for each of them, and they'd probably get it. I don't know, but I mean, they could just name their price, and these things would sell probably. So that's going to be really awesome. Really excited that they're doing that. Other cool news is Audi has a cool concept they just came out with, and it's called the Audi A3 Club Sport Quattro, which is probably previewing the new RS3 that's going to be coming out eventually. But this concept has 525 horsepower from this engine. It's the 2.5-liter turbo that's in the TTRS, and 525 horsepower, it's insane. This is, again, just a concept. No word as to whether or not they're actually going to build this, but chances are we're looking at a very thinly disguised new RS3. So I don't know about 525 horsepower in the production model, but it'll probably be close. So that's pretty awesome. Other awesome Audi news is they've officially released the Audi R8 LMX, which has a little bit more horsepower. It's 570 horsepower now from the V10 engine, and it has laser headlights. These are the ones that were on the Sport Quattro concept. It's kind of this thing, and they said they were going to come to production soon, and this is it. They're coming to production, but sadly, they're going to make it, but you're not able to get one in America because our laws prohibit laser headlights, unfortunately. So, this is a European-only car, and so all of you in Europe, welcome to the future. You can now drive with laser headlights. Wish we could in America. Other interesting news. There was some spy shots here of a 5-door version of the Cooper S that was spotted, and it's going to be next to a Clubman. So this isn't the Clubman. They're just doing like a normal 4-door hatchback version of the Cooper S. So other hatchback news is the Honda Civic Type R was caught out testing, and I actually really like Honda because this car is more aggressive looking than the concept. So the production version is sicker than the concept version. When has that ever happened? This is sick. So has these huge fender flares now and all kinds of crazy stuff. It's also in matte black paint, which looks really sweet. Gold wheels. And yeah, I really hope this thing comes to America. There was a petition to get these brought over to America. It's a completely different Civic than the one we get in America. Totally different chassis. Everything is totally different. Probably doesn't meet US crash standards, but I really hope they can find some way to bring this Type R here in exactly this form, because that is a winner right there. So other awesome Honda news. This is a rumor here, so don't get excited, but once again there's another rumor about an S2000 successor. This one is different though. What this rumor is suggesting is that it's going to be basically a baby NSX. And when I say baby NSX, that means it's going to be like the NSX with a mid-engine power plant and a hybrid V6 to go along with it. So it's basically just going to be a slower NSX, probably just detuned, not as crazy looking as the NSX maybe, and it'll be a convertible version. I'm thinking they might just call the convertible version of the NSX something else, like an S2000 successor. That might be what people are hearing about here. It'd be great though if it was a lightweight little roadster, but I don't think it's going to be very lightweight if it's got hybrid powertrain and a V6. I think we're talking about an expensive car, not a $30,000 little sports roadster. I think this is going to be a $60,000 car. My guess is to go up against the new Supra. That is what I'm thinking. I think Honda is planning a fighter to the Supra. Just my guess. But and these are all rumors, but if these rumors are, if there's some bit of credibility in here, I'm guessing that they're going to get ready to do a Supra competitor. So that's what I think that is, just my guess though. Some official news here, concrete stuff. BMW announced that they're going to have all-wheel drive on the M235i, which is awesome because the 235i is sweet in rear-wheel drive form from what I've been hearing and reading, and so they're going to have it in all-wheel drive. So for those of you that want something a little bit more refined than an STI and you don't mind having 2 doors, step into one of these, all-wheel drive and all that wonderful goodness of a sleek little BMW 2-door. That's going to be a winner. I don't know. That's probably my favorite BMW at the moment, actually. Other official BMW news is they also are debuting a 7 Series exclusive edition, which is still the same car as the previous version, but it's, you know, a little more pimped out and you know, has some nicer features as you would expect from a car that has the end name of exclusive. Other BMW news though, good news with this 2 Series chassis, all kinds of good stuff. So just last week we reported that they greenlit the M2, and now it's looking like they're already testing the M2, so they're way ahead of us here. And this M2 is wearing some M4 wheels on it, some bigger fenders off of the racing version of the 2 Series, and it has some wider rear fenders, and that looks all kinds of wonderful. And you know, not sure what kind of powertrain it would have. It has some stickier tires, things like that, but that's going to be definitely faster. Other BMW news is BMW's investing a lot of money in carbon fiber, and they're saying it's beyond the I range and the M models. It's not just for that kind of stuff. They want to eventually work this into all of their standard cars, and this plant is going to apparently be the biggest carbon fiber factory in the world whenever it's done. And they want to incorporate it into all their cars, and since they're making so much of it, it'll be cheaper and, you know, kind of easier to put into stuff like the 3 Series and 5 Series. They want to put it in all their cars. So, I mean, lightweight stuff I think is definitely the way of the future. You know, the lighter it is, you don't have to cut back on engines as much. You can, you know, have a smaller engine or just a lighter car, and it doesn't take as much gas to propel that car because it weighs a lot less. So I think I'd rather have a lighter car than a slower car. So, you know, a lighter car with, you know, eco-friendly engine would actually be a really serious performer still. So if BMW can put that throughout their whole range, that would be awesome, especially since a lot of people, myself included, recently have been complaining about just how heavy the new BMWs are, and so this will give them a large dose of lightness that they very badly need. So that's good to hear. Last bit of BMW news is a report that BMW is planning a small little Z2 Roadster to slot beneath the Z4, which hopefully is going to get a new update here soon because that car is definitely aging at this point. But this Z2, the interesting thing about it is they said it's going to be front-wheel drive. It's going to be based on the Mini Cooper chassis, actually. So I'm guessing, you know, we'll have a range of 3-cylinder turbo engines in them. I'm guessing it's going to just be, you know, like a sexier roadster version of a Mini Cooper S as far as mechanicals are concerned. Front-wheel drive, though, and yeah, it'd be awesome if it was rear-wheel drive, but honestly, I'm really kind of excited about a tiny little roadster that's front-wheel drive. The catch is, they're saying it would still probably be $30,000 for the base one and $50,000 for an M model. At that price, why not just get a 2 Series, a 235i? I mean, the Roadster is nice. Why not just make it a convertible version of the 2 Series and you're good to go? Making a front-wheel drive car that costs as much as the awesome 235i, it's going to sound like a tough sell to me. If that was 25 grand or so, and, you know, it's just a little more expensive than a Mini Cooper S maybe, then sure, I'd, you know, consider something like that, and compete with the new Miata and stuff like that. But, you know, 30 to 50,000 bucks for a front-wheel drive, smaller Z4 sounds like a tough sell to me. That's just my opinion on it though, but exciting to hear. Also, for those of you that are interested in Mustang news, the 2015 Mustang order guide has surfaced. And with it, we've got an official title for the EcoBoost version of the Mustang. It's going to be called the Mustang EcoBoost. Imagine that. So that's what it's going to be called. You know, they still haven't leaked out the horsepower ratings or the prices, but we do know how much some of the options cost, you know, the option packages are pretty nice. These performance packages seem like a bargain. So on the EcoBoost, you know, turbo version of the Mustang, it's like $2,000, and this $2,000 performance package gets you a larger rear sway bar, new chassis tuning, larger brake rotors, larger 19-inch black wheels, a retuned driver assistance system, aluminum dash panels, gauge pack, a limited slip differential, larger radiator, heavy-duty front springs, and a spoiler delete. which is a lot of stuff for 2,000 bucks. So definitely that's a no-brainer if you're at all performance-oriented and you want a Mustang. That's awesome. And then it's another $500 additional for the performance pack on the GT, but that gives you some bigger 6-piston Brembo front brakes on manual transmission cars, as well as a different limited slip differential, K-brace, and a strut tower brace. But yeah, really cool. I'm telling you what though, I mean the GT is going to be really, really sweet, but the EcoBoost with that performance package, that could be the one to get, because that's only, I think they said the EcoBoost is probably only going to be a couple $100 more than the V6, and it's going to have way better fuel economy and be slightly faster than the V6. And that's still going to be a really cheap car though. I mean, with the performance package, I could see that EcoBoost Mustang starting out around 25 grand or a little bit higher than that. That is a really good bargain for the money. That's something that's tempting to me. I mean, I'm not going to, you know, talk about that because I'm just sticking with the Mini for now. But in the future, I could see myself considering one of those. Other good news, Porsche has announced that, well, they haven't officially announced, but they're going to be doing a GT4 version of the Cayman. That is pretty obvious. There's been reports about it, and then there was also some cars that were spied at the Nürburgring, looking very, very mean with a very aggressive GT3 style front bumper, a nice rear spoiler, and wheels. Looks all kinds of menacing awesomeness, and so that is really exciting. No word as to what kind of powertrain it's going to have in it, but that's the car that Porsche was scared to make for the longest time because they don't want to outdo the 911, and that car may outdo the 911 with the mid-engine and everything. I don't know. We'll see. It would be interesting to see. But that was spotted at the Nürburgring looking awesome. Other Porsche news is that they're testing a 4-cylinder Boxster, and that was also at the Nürburgring. It has some weird stuff around the wheel arches and things like that, but the people that heard it said it definitely did not sound like a 6-cylinder. It was a 4-cylinder, somewhere between 2.5 and 3.4 liters, they're guessing, something like that. And yeah, so that's exciting news from Porsche as well. All kinds of good Porsche stuff. Other exciting Porsche news is that they're planning on bringing some of the e-hybrid technology from the 918 into their other flagship models, such as the 911 Turbo S. They're saying they could do a 700 horsepower version of the Turbo S that has this e-hybrid tech. And so we're talking about, you know, the 911 Turbo S already is an insane car. I think 2.5 seconds 0 to 60 times. I mean, you've seen you cannot break the launch control. It'll do launches over and over and over again all day without braking. Really a technological masterpiece, engineering masterpiece, just masterpiece in general. And Porsche, if they do 700 horsepower with this e-hybrid system, that thing's going to have instant torque plus the insane performance of an already insane Turbo S. That is going to be a crazy car, and I know Nissan wants to, you know, always benchmark, you know, their benchmark for the GTR is the Turbo S. Nissan is going to have to pull out all of their wizardry once again to try and beat an e-hybrid version of the Turbo S. Mind-blowing. I mean, man, these performance cars these days are really, really sick. Talking about really, really sick, though, you want to talk really, really sick. The new Batmobile has been teased in 2 separate pictures, and this is the one that has, you know, been apparently rumored to be designed by General Motors and Zack Schneider and some of the other guys in the prop department at Warner Brothers and stuff like that. We just have 2 teaser shots. One of them includes a picture of Batman, you know, Ben Affleck in his Batsuit. I'm a big Batman fan, so that also gets me kind of geeked out. It's really sick. But you can kind of see the front of it and the back of it. Kind of reminds me of some of the ones, you know, some of the older Batmobiles that, you know, I've seen in person. I've actually filmed a video of all the Batmobiles driving around. If you haven't seen that, that was a couple years ago. And this reminds me of the ones like the George Clooney Batmobile and stuff like that, but it looks really, really sick. Excited to see the full thing. All we see are bits and pieces here. But from what we've seen so far, it looks really sick to me. So that's exciting. So, for some more mundane news here, Volkswagen is developing a new 10-speed DSG transmission that they're going to be putting, and it'll give them 15% better gas mileage, they're saying, and 10 speeds sounds like a lot to me, but that's what they're developing. It's going to replace the 6-speed DSG that's in a lot of their cars, like the GTI and things like that. I don't know if that's going to, if that new 10-speed will be in the GTI soon, or if this is a ways off, but they're developing a new one. Other hatchback news, Hyundai was spotted testing the new Veloster Turbo in Germany. So this one, it's just going to be facelifted, it's not a totally new car, but the fact that they're, you know, kind of testing it probably on the Nürburgring, things like that, makes me think they're going to probably do some more suspension tuning, since from what I've heard, that's not the Veloster's strong suit. It's got power, but the suspension has been a little bit lacking. they might be trying to fix that issue with this new version. Excited to see what the new siding looks like. Same basic shape, but going to have some mild changes to it. So that'll be exciting to see the full version of that. Other interesting car news is Nissan Canada has killed the Nissan Cube, which hasn't been a strong seller here in America, so everyone's saying that America is probably next. I don't think too many people would miss that car, but yeah, it's definitely a quirky design. I take my hat off to Nissan for taking a chance with that, but it doesn't look like it really paid off. Scion can't even sell any XPs anymore, so Nissan selling their version of being the Cube probably is a tough sell. Talking about tough sells, the Cadillac ELR has not been selling very well, and Cadillac's been giving some incentives to get people test driving them and things like that. And there's some new spy shots here of Cadillac working on a new version of the ELR, probably an ELR V, which is going to be kind of going after the performance version of the Tesla Model S. They have the 85-watt version or whatever of the Model S, and I think that's what this is kind of targeting. It has a little camo over the grille, which means it'll probably get a V grille like you see on all the other Vs. Has some bigger brakes, things like that. And yeah, it'll be interesting to see just what they can tinker with this electric motor and get some more power out of this. So that's going to be interesting to see the final version of that. And other Cadillac news in the V line is Cadillac is bidding farewell to the current generation of the CTS-V Coupe. The new Coupe version of the CTS will be arriving soon, hopefully, in the V version soon after that. And so these are the last versions of the CTS. And so it's a special edition. It's finished in this black color and has some special trim on it, things like that. And yeah, obviously that car is amazing. Really excited to see the new version of the CTS Coupe for sure. Some other news. Ariel has introduced a 350 horsepower Atom. This one's called the 3.5R. It has a supercharged Honda motor. Then this one's doing 350 horsepower, and so it's still very impressive. 2.5 seconds 0 to 60, and it does 0 to 100 in I think they said something like 6 seconds. So that's pretty crazy. And yeah, I mean, I don't think they're making the V8 versions anymore, unfortunately, but if you can't get a V8 version, definitely get one of those. That's pretty awesome. And last little couple of things here. First is Rolls-Royce is doing a convertible version of the Wraith, which isn't a big surprise, but there was spotted out testing, and that should be arriving shortly. And the last news is Subaru's plans. So Fiat and all them kind of released their plans last week as far as what they're going to be doing over the next 5 years, and Subaru said, hey, we'll tell you what we're doing over the next 5 years too. Don't get excited, performance enthusiasts. There's nothing here about performance stuff. It's just saying they're going to do a new modular platform with direct injection in all of their engines. They want to do a 7-seat SUV that's going to be a successor to the Tribeca, and they want to do a plug-in hybrid. That's the exciting news from Subaru. I mean, it's good. It'll increase their sales and things like that. Matt Farah actually wrote an interesting piece a few days ago about the Toyotization of Subaru and how Subaru is now chasing sales and just becoming more mainstream and less quirky and less of a niche market than it has been in the past. And this is it's kind of sad to see that they're talking about how excited they are to do a 7-seat SUV, but nothing about a new version of the BRZ or a hatchback version of the WRX STI that everyone wants to see. I mean, yes, they don't sell in large numbers. Everyone buys Foresters and Legacies and things like that. But even those cars could be a little more distinctive. They have amazing concepts and then they just dull them down. I won't get into another rant. I've ranted plenty of times. You can go back and watch the BRZ weekly updates where I talk about all that good stuff if you're interested in hearing my rants. But yeah, so that's Subaru's plans, and I'm sure it'll be very successful for them. Like I said, their sales are increasing a lot. So yeah, that's it for all the news this week, guys. I'll send it back to me in the car. So yeah, I'll leave you guys with a nice little acceleration here, like I always do. It pulls hard, it's quick. Oh man. This thing is a lot of fun. It'd be a little more dramatic with that exhaust system, but even with the stock exhaust, like I said, I like the way it sounds actually. It's louder than the stock BRZ exhaust. That car was so silent, I really couldn't hear anything at all. This car, it actually does have an exhaust note, especially with the windows down. I can kind of hear some stuff, so that's cool. But yeah, anyways, thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you next week. Take care.